In the last tutorial, we just finished doing some basics for the header and the main image. Now we're going to go on to the content section. So back in Dreamweaver, and go back to Design View, let's look at the two different sections we have. Here's our section called the Content Wrapper. Now that Content Wrapper is going to be an important one because of the fact that this Content Wrapper is going to be given a white background, and that's going to be kind of important that we have that there, that white background. Now another thing that we can do is go ahead and give it the width of the entire page, which is 900 pixels. Now I'm going to go ahead and take out our margins and padding as well. Now the reason why I'm doing that is because we want that one section by itself to be treated separately than the footer, because if you look at the original design, that whole section goes all the way across, all the way down to the bottom, and has these rounded corners, and we may deal with that at a later time. Anyway, going back to Dreamweaver, kind of got that as the content wrapper. Now I've got my two different things. I've got my section content and I've got my testimonial, which is my aside. Let's go ahead and start with the aside. Now, looking at my original grid here that I've got a 230 pixel aside that I'm going to be doing, and we've got 590 pixels for the content. Right now, we've got, if I go back to Dreamweaver, we've got just this content wrapper, which is applying that width, and we can still use the aside and the content section. Let's see if I can find that there. The section content, we can assign those with the margins that we want, just like we had talked about at the beginning. So anyway, let's go on. Let's actually add this. So this is going to be the sidebar that I'm doing, content wrapper sidebar. And I'm doing two selectors typically, because that way it's pretty easy for you to always keep track of exactly where things are. Now that means that this particular box is going to be the 230 pixels. I need to look at that. 230 pixels with 20 pixels on the left and right. 230, and our margins are going to be on the top and right, our left and right, as 20 pixels. Apply. We are also going to float that to the left-hand side. And the reason we want to float that to the left-hand side is so that we can float the content next to it here. So now that's the section content. Let's do the same sort of thing here. So it's content wrapper content. And with the box here, we're going to have 590 pixels. We're going to float that to the left. Then what we're going to have is on the right, it'll be 20. On the left, it'll be 20. Apply. OK. And there you can see that we've basically got our content set up. Now, you may notice that it would be nice if we had some padding on the left and right and top and bottom. And actually, we can totally do that. We can just go ahead and edit this style. If I edit that style, I should have really thought about that, but it should be the same for all of those. Same for all the margins. And so far with our code, this is what we've got going on. With those margins, here's what we just did. Just margin 20 pix, margin 20 pix. So it's pretty easy. You can see things are fitting quite nicely in our page. If I go ahead and preview it, here's what we've got so far. We've got our testimonials on the left, which is our sidebar. We've got our content on the right and our amazing team. We don't have much spacing that we've figured out with stuff, but we'll do that later. Now we also have this great to work on projects, things that benefit you and whatever else. If we look at our original page, these are over on the right hand side, and we're actually going to make it stretch all the way across. And this just allows us to look at this grid once again and say, well, we've got 860 pixels with our margins left and right on both sides, and that's what we're going to be conscientious about. So in my code, I'm going to select that area, which is my section extras. Create a new style for that. Content wrapper extras. The box on this will be 860 pixels with my margin on the left and right as 20 pixels. We could actually probably do all of them again as the same. And then there's another thing that I want to do. I want to make sure that I do clear both. And the reason that I want to do that is I want to make sure that this division goes underneath the content. Another thing that I can do is just go ahead and give it the color, background color, so we can see that it is being applied to that. So there it is. I'm going to go ahead and save both of these pages and refresh and see if we can get a little bit better look. There it is being applied. But am I allowing extras? Let me edit the box. Oh, I didn't do same for all. So I didn't move it around everywhere. But that's something we definitely want to do. Oh, I need to refresh all or save all. Then you can see. Now we've got that bar fitting all the way across. Now we've got that white kind of not working right there, and that might be something that we have to fix just a little bit. Anytime that we're doing design work, we always find that there's so many things that we have to fix. I know that's the content wrapper. So let me go to that. Make sure that we've got something on the bottom, and we don't. So the bottom needs to have that 20 pixels. Let me save that file, come back and refresh, and we're getting a little bit of something. Content wrapper, edit. You know what we might want is we might want the bottom to have a 20 pixel margin or padding. Aha! There we go. Now we're seeing that padding down there, and that actually might be giving us what we want. Aha! There we go. It's actually giving me 40. Oh, it's because now I have the padding on there and it's calculating the margin properly. It's kind of a crazy thing sometimes. Margins and paddings can kind of conflict with each other, and it's just something that we are always having to debate with. So if I look at this, I've got the same margin everywhere. On the bottom, I may need to make it 0, and that will fix that. Why exactly, I don't know. It's just this is one of those things that you deal with all the time when you are coding websites. Last thing that we've got is our footer. So if we take a look at our footer, we've got just some basic information and our links, and then something on the right. And I believe we have those 3 sections, my copyright. And so what I'm going to do on my page footer, less specific, here I'm going to go ahead and use the padding instead of the other ones. I'm going to use the padding everywhere as 20 pixels. And the reason why is because we don't want the margins to be working. We do need to make sure that we give the right size. So that'll be that 8. Well, let's see, is that 840? 820. No, it's 820 because we have... Oh, now I can't even remember what it is. It's whatever we had at the page header. So let's go and take a look at that. The page header had 860 with 20 there. So that means that our page footer should also have width 860, because that's 20 on both sides, so that's 20 and 40 plus 860 equals 900. Now we've got our navigation, and you'll see that we already kind of have the basics that we need for our navigation with our page header, global nav there, and everything else. And all we have to really do is duplicate those and change them for the bottom. So I'm going to copy all of that, go down to the bottom, and change the things that have to be done. So that'll be the page footer instead of page header everywhere. The navigation is called footer nav. And we've got footer nav and footer nav and footer nav. So it's a good start at this point. That first one is P copyright. So that P copyright, I might go ahead and give it some sort of floating to the left as well. So new style, page footer, copyright, float left. Let's give it a background color so that we can see. There we go. We've got just a little bit of stuff going on there. And it doesn't have to be perfect at this point. It really doesn't. P site info. Page footer, site info. I'm going to go ahead and float to the left as well. And give it a color which matches the others. And hopefully we'll see it on the left there. Great. Let's go ahead and save this file and see where we're at. There we go. Right now it's fairly simple. We've got our little bit of navigation down here. We've got our copyright, company name. We've got our design inspired by. So it's just a small footer at this point. We've got great to work with on projects, our content, our testimonials, and our major layout. Now, I would love to go on, but I know that we've pretty much taken up all the time that we can. Hopefully, with a little bit more CSS style, you will be able to go in and do all sorts of stuff with your navigation and your content to make it look beautiful. I'm going to go on and just hit some of the highlights in the next tutorials.